This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. One of the things I want to reiterate is the importance of knowing your enemy, knowing where they are. When stuff goes down, it's important to know where they are. I've talked about the underground bunkers that these people have built. And something I'm posting over on the website, and I want to be active in the forum, is people talking about their states, where these bases and compounds are, because pretty much every state has one of these underground massive military bases. And, they give you the illusion that, like, oh, yeah, it's military stuff going on down there. And they're, rolling around. I mean, it's a joke. They're literally underground cities. They're underground cities that, filled with food, filled with resources, sleeping arrangements, bathroom. Everything's fully functioning like it would be up here. And, of course, this is for the politicians, the chosen elect, who will be down there and who will be protected from the citizens when they cause this stuff against the citizens. It's important to know where they are. Why? Well, you're not going to be able to knock and get in, not that you're going to want to. But when the citizens realize what's happening, there's a chance that the citizens can rally together and the citizens can know and wait for them to come out of their hole. That's something they don't expect people to do because they don't expect citizens to band together and survive. But we know people like me and you who listen to this channel have a really good chance of surviving what's coming. That's why I believe it's going to be an extended period of time because they're going to try to wait this out as long as they can. But knowing where they are is of extreme importance. I want to talk about some of the places, just as an example, so that you're familiar. And then you could talk about it on the website, in the forum. I'll pin something over there. And we could share, each state. You don't have to say what state you're in or what you know about a specific military base. Obviously, there's Mount Weather. That's the one most of us always start at, Mount Weather, which is really like their FEMA underground, which is very dense, of course. And, they tell you it's there for, well, they don't give you any real reason, right? Why should they? You have the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, which I'm going to show you in a minute what it looks like inside with a little video clip. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex, which is located near Colorado Springs. Like I said, the FEMA underground and Mount Weather, which is very obviously, a lot of people believe that this is where most of our government's going to go, but then there's obviously talks of Raven Rock in Pennsylvania being the place where most of the politicians will go because they'll think that they're in Mount Weather. This is another underground base. And you have places like Area 51. We know underneath the Denver airport, there's a massive military base pretty much around the entire country. But you don't need to, but I think it's important that people know not only that they exist, but where the entrances are, where they are, where you can find on a map. And obviously a lot of these places are in the mountains. You have the Ozarks as well. But let's take a look at what they have under there because it almost looks like, wow, you put all this money into it, you must know something's coming.
You are entering one of the most secret places on Earth. It's a bunker built into a hollowed out mountain in Colorado. It's just one of the top secret shelters where 7,000 Americans will go to in the event of nuclear annihilation.
The government built more than 100 of these bunkers and relocation facilities around the country.
There's no room for families.
Wives, children not included.
The plans to get a small number of government officials out of Washington, out of major cities, and into these bunkers around the country. And it doesn't include families.
Garrett Graff is the author of the new book, Raven Rock, the U.S. government's secret plan to save itself while the rest of us die. The title comes from this place, Raven Rock Mountain, a super secret bunker in Pennsylvania where Pentagon brass will relocate in a nuclear war.
How do you get on this list? And who's on it?
Well, so the list includes your high-ranking government officials, your cabinet leaders, your congressional leadership, members of the Supreme Court, as well as, top aides, White House staff.
Some people are on the elite list by accident. The bunker at Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado has its own Subway sandwich shop.
If you just happen at the time of the apocalypse to be the person manning the cash register at the Subway, you're going to be the only fast food employee in America who survives the nuclear war.
Another bunker is buried in Virginia at a place called Mount Weather.
This is the Mount Weather facility about 60 miles west of Washington, D.C. And it looks like a typical secure government facility. It is surrounded by a chain link fence with a barbed wire at the top.
And they don't like visitors.
Okay. I need you on.
For decades, another secret bunker was located beneath Greenbrier, a luxury resort in West Virginia. It's now a museum. Behind this 25-ton blast door was a shelter for 400 government officials who could live for 60 days in dorms like this one. The bunker system has been used only once, on 9/11.
On 9/11, helicopters swooped in here to the Capitol and evacuated the congressional leadership as well as officials from across Washington out into these mountain bunkers around the country.
Let's hope they're never needed again.
Driving south to Colorado Springs, it looms in the distance. One of the most famous military bases in the world, Cheyenne Mountain. 1 mile inside the granite, 2,000 feet down from the top, it is a giant command and control center that has kept America safe for 50 years. Inside the mountain are 15 2- and 3-story buildings. They are freestanding but connected by hallways and ramps. There is also a service area to keep the complex running, and even reservoirs, yes, underground lakes. You get inside by driving through a 2-mile tunnel, and when you get to the middle, you see the doors. The 2 famous blast doors that have kept the facility safe when they're closed. The door to this building weighs 25 tons and runs on hydraulics. It's usually open all the time, but if it is closed, then there's a problem.
I mean, obviously Cheyenne Mountain was built to survive and endure through a nuclear event, and all of us hope that never happens.
The buildings behind those doors were built on 1,300 giant springs that can move independently if there's an explosion or earthquake. They would bounce, but they wouldn't break apart. And that's important because of what goes on inside those buildings. In control rooms like this one, which was set up just for us, experts keep an eye on possible threats. Everything from missile launches around the world to 23,000 objects in space. It includes satellites, the International Space Station, and lots of space junk. The original tenant, NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, is now headquartered at nearby Peterson Air Base, but it still has a command center here in case it's needed.
On the day that you hope never happens, the worst day in American history, their plan would be to come up here and operate out of here so that they would have that survivability capability.
As you can imagine, security for the control rooms is pretty tight. Our security escort said he can't even get inside them.
I can only fantasize about what goes on in there. Maybe a lot, maybe little, but whatever it is obviously important. So,
in the buildings underground, there are other facilities for the 300 to 400 workers. There's a cafeteria, appropriately named the Granite Inn. As everybody knows, it's not easy protecting the country when you're hungry.
Thank you.
There's an exercise and weight room because you can't just go work out at the 24-hour fitness during your break.
All right.
And if you want to find a pickup basketball game against a, say, short Jewish basketball legend, well, that happens too deep underground.
that's how we do it up here in the mountain.
And since many people are in the mountain for long hours, a little shopette provides all the needed staples, like potato chips. All the comforts of home, sort of.
Whenever you're walking through the halls, it's not like, you're seeing rocks everywhere. It's normal buildings, and so it's very easy to forget that you're underground. It's also hard to navigate in this building.
You get lost a lot?
Yeah, I get lost a lot, so.
To keep this all going, there are miles of pipes, cables, valves, and thousands of rock bolts to make sure the granite's stable.
As far as I've known, nobody has gotten hurt from loose rocks falling out and hit somebody in the head.
The place runs on Colorado Springs electricity, but there are 6 giant generators to back up power in the case of an emergency. There are 4 reservoirs like this one that can be used for cooling and drinking water.
Well, this reservoir is like 20 feet deep, and it holds about 1,000,005 gallons of water.
And a pet duck lives on this lake, but since it never moves or eats, we're guessing it's a rubber ducky.
I don't know the duck's name. You can give it a name if you want.
Cheyenne Mountain has been called America's Fortress. The facility under Colorado is the eyes and ears of the U.S. defense system, watching and listening to what's going on all over the world and even out of this world to keep us all safe.
And that's the thing I hope that people take from seeing this stuff is they actually use their brain and they say, why would they put all this together? Oh, they put trillions of dollars into building all these underground cities because they knew that a nuclear war was coming with Russia at some point. Huh? Oh, okay. They knew that there was going to be a massive depop going on and that they were going to need to hide from the citizens around the world. And then when they come out of it, there'll be a reset with the people who survive that. And they'll come in, and of course, in the meantime, the ones who stay above ground, the military leaders at least, and local leaders and things like that, will obviously round people up to feed them and give them water because people become dependent on them. But knowing where they are, why is it important to know where they are? Well, it depends on what you expect after some of this stuff goes down. Do you expect to comply and join along with this and take the mark? Or do you expect to at least try to rally people, which they don't want you to do? That's why they want civil unrest to occur while they're underground, because they expect us to blame one another for it. If people could wake up and realize that they're doing it and they're hiding, and then they're going to go, well, we're only hiding because, that's protocol. The president and all the senators are supposed to hide underground if there's some type of nuclear attack. That's why they're going to use a nuclear attack. When in reality, it's just them using all the technology that they put in place, all the crap that they've sprayed in the skies, the 5G towers. I mean, so many things that they're going to use in the citizens, which they're already using day in and day out. And they'll use them hiding as hey, the leaders have to hide because when stuff clears, who's going to lead the country? Who's going to lead the fake democracy, right? But when the citizens start to realize that they wanted them to turn on each other, which obviously a lot of them will not, a lot of people will not make it through what's coming, but the ones who do might be able to talk to and wake up those who have been completely asleep, liberal or not, to see what's going on, and then point to these specific locations and say, that's where they are. Well, we're in Missouri, we're in Arkansas, those are the Ozark Mountains. Okay, let's scout it out. We have a map, and that's another thing that's important too in your go bag. If you're somebody out there as a prepper and you have a go bag and all that stuff, is to have a map, a physical map of whatever area you're going to be in. So wherever you are, you should always have a map of the area, because if everybody now, like they want you to do, relies on technology for a map, you rely on Google Maps and all that other crap. And it's something I feel like people forget with their prepper bag. Of course, up the road there's a pond or a lake or whatever, but you never know. You should have actual maps so you know where everything is, and especially where you know where these compounds are, because that's where they're going to be. Right? We know a lot of celebrities have them in their own homes and their backyards. Zuckerberg put one in at his house, right? And people bet, if people aren't suspicious when the smoke clears after what they do, I don't know what to tell you. And I think that, what's unfortunately going to happen is people are going to be so beaten down and weakened that they're not even going to think like that. They're just going to be like, oh, well, they're rich and they did that, and please feed me, help me, and and they're going to be our friends and we're all on the same page. That kind of love unity crap, because they're going to be so worn out from everything that they're going to be put through. That's what they expect. But if people actually stick together, get their resources together, and then realize where these people are. Now, obviously, these bases and these bunkers are going to be protected by the military, right? So we're not talking about any type of violent movement going there and knocking on doors, because obviously you'll be taken down, and nobody wants that. But be aware of where they are, because there'll still be more of us standing at the end of this than there are of them that are underground. And they're going to expect their military to protect them, and they're going to expect their lunatics to protect them, who are going to still believe in the left-right because they've been programmed into that. I mean, the programming with the left-right has gotten so out of control. I've said it before, the world was never like this. If you're someone who's young, it was never like this. The politicians just did their job. You would never even hear about them. You would just hear about, there's a State of the Union address. Oh, okay, and you listen in. Right? And they just talk about what's going on in the world. They give you a bunch of bullcrap. Obviously, they spew nothing that's real anyway. But that would be it. It wouldn't be a part of your day-to-day life. Now politics consumes everyone's day-to-day life. And the reason for that is because they want to wear you down with it and keep you in this division amongst citizens between the left and the right. The Democratic Party was never like this. Now they're complete lunatics. They're and I'm not saying I'm not a right-wing person because I don't believe in the left-right. But the liberal side of it, they were just people who, they cared about, certain things. And now they're just completely, they're the dangerous extremists, like rabid ones who don't want free speech. They don't want, they're the ones who are pretty much doing the bidding of the elitists and destroying the democracy that was once in place, which no longer is, which I shouldn't even call it democracy, but destroying the rights of citizens in this country. So those people are going to be on the front lines protecting them still while this stuff goes down, because they love their politicians and they're going to want them to take care of them and baby them and wipe their rear ends. But they will be in the mountains. They will be in their bunkers. And if people realize that's where they are, Then you find out where they are, you map it out, because once they're down there, they're down there. They're not coming out. It's just a matter of knowing where they are, right? Because they're going to be they're going to be sitting ducks for the most part. They're going to be sitting in these specific spots, waiting it out. So they can't be under there and be like, oh, teleport me to Taiwan. Nope, sorry. You're under there. You're way down there. And you're going to have to come out at some point because you're going to run out of food and resources, even if you're stocked for 10 to 20 years. They're not going to want to stay down there for the rest of their lives because they have a plan in place and they have to, they have to go with that plan. So they sit there and they plan and plot all this stuff out, and they know how people are going to respond to it. That's why you have to think before you react, because they expect you to react a certain way. And if you strategically plan out what what can be done to counteract their ridiculous plan, then something can be done. But if you just go along with it, and react without thinking, then you're going to fall right into what they want. That's why every time you hear something in the news, every time you see something going on, you can't react to it. You got to think it through. How do they want me to feel? Because everything is mind control. The left, the right, all of it. Doesn't make the television if they don't want to control you in a certain way and groom you in a certain way. That's why all these stories you hear constantly about, you hear stuff like, sports stories, fans throwing bottles and all this stuff. This is all stuff that they want people to hear about civil unrest and about behavior, because they want to control people's behavior. That's what this is about. Like I've been saying, right? It's about control, and controlling your behavior is a part of it. So anyway, I'm going off topic here, but when these people are down there, that is something that is to our advantage, because they're not going to be able to navigate out. There's only so many entrances and exits of these places. And if people are familiar with where they are and they surround these areas and just sit there and wait, well, that'll scare them to death. So be aware of this. This is something I want to share on the forum, on the website at callforuprising.com. This is why it's important to be on the website and other places to learn this stuff, see this stuff, share this stuff. I don't know all the places. I know a good amount. I know people have been sharing stuff about, hey, there's a military underground complex here. This is probably where they're going to go. Right, because we don't even know where they are right now, because we know for the most part, most of the stuff they do is in front of green screens, like Fauci, Biden, they pop up here and there. But, they know where they're going to be, and they're not going to be where you probably would think. Like, you would think, oh, what's going on? So Biden's in Washington, so he's probably going to go to Mount Weather, or he's probably going to go to Raven Rock. Yeah, they probably know in advance, so he could be all the way out in Colorado. Or, so knowing the specific locations is I think, of an advantage for us, for citizens, when this stuff goes down. Because they do not expect you to even think like that. They expect themselves to come out and reemerge and have power and more control over people, instead of people actually pointing a finger at them because they're going to blame the boogeyman. So being aware that it's your own government and talking to people about it will be very, very helpful and important when stuff goes down. I thank everyone for being here. Hope to see you on the website. God bless all of you and your families.